are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in! Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. That means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos, and fired up to be here. Thanks for spending some time with us as we keep you working towards the weekend. Maybe some of you have already knocked off for the weekend. Congratulations on that. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Some of you still clocked in, but working towards that weekend, and we'll help you get there over the next 2 hours. Preston Guy in his normal spot coming up in 15 minutes. Got to get you ready for Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. LSU and Auburn will play on the basketball court tomorrow on the Plains. Jason Caldwell will talk to us about that coming up at 2 o'clock. I've got some thoughts on the Saints and some of their immediate needs in the offseason. So lots and lots to get to here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. But we start where everyone is right now. It's all eyes on Tuscaloosa and what's going on. All eyes on Greg Byrne and what he can do. This just feels a lot bigger than when A&M's job comes open or when Florida's job comes open. It feels bigger than any of the other college jobs that have come open in the last 10 years. Because of where we are in the state and what that program has meant to the sport. I didn't lead my show with any of those openings. And they've come open multiple times since Nick Saban took the job there in Tuscaloosa. But it just feels more important. I'm getting text messages about it from buddies. The internet's abuzz. Flight Aware and flight trackers going nuts. And one by one, coaches from around the country who we presume to be on the short list. Of course, that's against Greg Byrne's wishes. Greg Byrne says if you don't hear it from him, then it's not real. But the coaches we presume to be on the short list kind of start knocking themselves off one by one. Yesterday, Dan Lanning took to Twitter, I'm an Oregon Duck, and I'll be here. And if you want to play for Oregon, come see me. And that's not a move that's completely unexpected. And then we had the same thing from Mike Norvell today, who just signed a new extension worth $10 million per year. And it was so eloquently put on Twitter that said, context is very important, and I'm lacking it here intentionally. But it is humorous that a coach that just got beat by 60 points just signed a new deal to pay him $10 million per year. But that's what Mike Norvell's new contract stipulates at Florida State. So you can basically cross those two guys off the list. So what's next? Well, the internet continues to assume that Kalen DeBoer would be next. And there was a bit of a murmur on Twitter today when Kalen DeBoer did not make his normal local radio appearance. We know a thing or two about that around here. He didn't make that appearance, and it was, whoa, he may be in Tuscaloosa. Well, probably not in Tuscaloosa, but it would lend itself to reason that that's probably not trying to talk somebody out of the transfer portal or making those sophomore and high school recruiting calls. If you just want to be a little presumptuous, but connecting some logical dots, you would suggest that Kalen DeBoer is either A, talking to Alabama, or B, talking to his current athletic director and saying, hey, they're calling me. You want to do something about it? Makes a lot of sense. So I'm not here right now at 1:04 on Friday afternoon in Baton Rouge here to break any news that Kalen DeBoer is or isn't the Alabama coach, but I can talk about what I think as an Alabama hater about the prospects of him coming down and taking that job. Kalen DeBoer checks a lot of boxes that you would look for, presumably, if you were the Alabama athletic director. First, just right out of the chute, how old is he? He's 49 years old. Perfectly acceptable age. Got some youth. Got a runway. Not concerned pretty quickly with recruiting. If you hire a, 68-year-old head coach, all of a sudden, 2 years in, coach is saying, hey, you gonna be here in 3 years? Certainly not the case with Kalen DeBoer. He's young. Fine. He started his coaching career in high school. He was at Washington High School in South Dakota as an assistant. Became another assistant at the NAIA level. Say that 3 times fast. At the NAIA level at Sioux Falls. Moved up to be the offensive coordinator at Southern Illinois. Then on to be the offensive coordinator at Eastern Michigan. So all that up in the upper Midwest. Then he becomes the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Fresno State. That's where Jeff Tedford was at the time. That's a name that many of you remember from his days at Cal. And then he got hired by Tom Allen to go be the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Indiana, and they had some real success throwing the football. Took the head job at Fresno State. COVID hits. Abbreviated season there. It was 3-3. That was his first head coaching job at Fresno State. And then the next year, they had a really nice season, won 9 games, and Washington hired him. And since he's taken that job at Washington, they've gone 25-3. And the national championship game was the first time he had lost to a top 25 team in his tenure at Washington. So you're looking at a guy who started at the bottom of the barrel, high school, moved up to NAIA, then moved up to the big-time college level in the MAC, out west of Fresno State, into the Big Ten, back to Fresno State for his first real head coaching opportunity. And since 2020, so now for 3 years, he's been a head coach. Now, if you would have asked me if Alabama was going to be primed to hire a head coach with 3 years of experience post-Saban, whenever that was going to be, I would suggest that's a little surprising to me. But it's been a good 3-year run for him. He's an offensive-minded coach, a young coach, and one that has proven that he can win at multiple places for multiple years. One of the things that scares me about, I'm not saying scares me as an LSU fan about Alabama, just in terms of coaching hires in general, I'm frightened by someone who goes on one run. Well, that's the guy. Off like 1 year. Or in basketball, like 1 point guard. Or in football, 1 quarterback. I need you to do it multiple times to prove that you were the secret sauce, not the one player or the one group of players. And Kalen DeBoer, while he's ridden Michael Penix very hard, has done it at 2 different places, Fresno State and Washington. So he checks a lot of boxes and will make a lot of sense. But it's always going to boil down to this for me as I now put on my LSU fan hat and not just reading you the bio. It's, okay, how scary is Kalen DeBoer? And to me, it's relative. If Kalen DeBoer takes the A&M job, if Kalen DeBoer takes the Arkansas job, the Auburn job, I go, okay, that looks like a good hire. Like, that may be something that could be concerning. There is no one in this hiring pool outside of one human, Kirby Smart, that terrifies me because of the seat that they're going to sit in. I think Kalen DeBoer is probably a really good coach. But you're going to have to compare him directly to Nick Saban. I watched and sat through the agony of the first week in November for 17 years with that guy. And I'll just be really honest with you. When I take my seat in Tiger Stadium next November and that Alabama team comes out of the tunnel and he's not in front, my fear level just drops. I don't care if it's Kalen DeBoer, Dan Lanning. I don't care if it's Dabo Sweeney, Mike Norvell, even Lane Kiffin. None of them register with me like Saban did. That's just how I feel. That could be proven exactly right. It could be proven that I'm an idiot. We went through yesterday a lot of examples, not all, but a lot of examples of legendary coaches moving on and what was next. And to me, they're being graded on an unfair scale, which quite honestly is probably why some of these coaches, if they're being contacted, aren't jumping. Certainly Greg Byrne has talked to somebody over the last 48 hours. Somebody, anybody. And he hasn't hired anybody. And it would stand to reason that he's not like making one phone call a day and then going to get a cup of coffee, hitting some balls in the driving range, cooking a steak and going to sleep. I would imagine this is consuming massive portions of his day. And there's just not a lot of movement. So, not a lot of movement we can see. The only movement we can see is coaches inking new deals. Dan Lanning saying he's going to stay. Mike Norvell getting new deals. And maybe they're getting phone calls from Greg Byrne. I'm just connecting dots here from the outside. And Alabama is a better job than Washington if you're trying to win championships. It's a better job than Florida State if you're trying to win championships. But your job security stinks. And that is because of the guy who had the chair before you. And then you come full circle and come back to little old me in Baton Rouge going, that's how I feel too. Alabama fans, the administration, the program expects that level. I'm used to that level and watching it from afar, and I don't think that the next coach is going to reach it. Kalen DeBoer's got everything on his resume that you would want for an up-and-coming coach. He's won his conference. He's coached a Heisman finalist. He's scored a lot of points. He's been the head coach at 2 different places. It makes a ton of sense. And if they hire him, they should be optimistic about what he can do there. But I will sit here and say, prove it. Prove it. We'll see. If anything breaks over the next hour and 50 minutes, we'll talk about it. I'm curious to see what Preston Guy's thoughts are on it. We chat with him a little about 5 minutes from right now. But I have great news for you. Great news. Corks turned 1 this week. Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, been the sponsor of our Friday shows for a year now. And they had their first birthday this week. I can't say brand new food concept anymore because they've turned 1. But you can still stop by and have the same incredible food. Just got a little bit more maturity under their belt now over there at Corks. Government Street between Jefferson and Foster. Delicious crispy fried catfish, unbelievable jumbo Gulf fried shrimp. Po' boys are fantastic. Crawfish etouffee, you can get that over a baked potato as well. It's from the Medinka boys who brought you at Kuyon's, Cross River in Port Allen, and Corks has now been there over a year on Government Street. Get on by for a late lunch today, or have them come over, feed your office, have them for your catering events, birthday parties, watching the NFL. Going to be cold next week. Don't want to cook? Corks can handle it right there on Government Street. Corks brings you our Friday shows. We'll come back with Preston Guy next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team have been in the game 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you're in a home, you're very comfortable there, but think you could use an upgrade or personalization of your closet or bathroom, and keep that great interest rate you refied to a couple of years ago, and upgrade your living situation with a customized bathroom. Pull out that porcelain tub you don't ever use. Put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. It totally changes the aesthetic of your bathroom, totally changes the functionality of your bathroom, and it adds value to a home that maybe one day you will move on from. David Vaughn and his team happy to come over, give you that free consultation. And they got financing available as well. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana.
So join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan's Cigar Bar. We'll have the latest on the Alabama coaching search, plus the Riot Radio Hours return. It's Friday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Twitterverse is buzzing. We'll get Preston Guy's thoughts on it. He joins us here via the Jim's Firearms Hotline like he does every single Friday. Preston, how are you?
I am doing good. It is a wonderful week for LSU football as the head coach's job has just gotten exponentially easier.
We'll see. There's some rumors about who the next guy might be in the last 5 minutes on Twitter, so I'll get your thoughts on that at the end here.
Yeah.
Let's start with LSU. What do you think about defensive tackle right now?
Well, I think they have a very good coach for the two guys they're bringing back next year. But that is razor thin. And, you know, I've talked a lot about class composition in recruiting classes. It's one of the things I harp on. It's so easy to find yourself having a gaping hole at a position group because one class you decided instead of signing freshmen, I'm going to hit the portal, or, well, we're stacked in the next year and we have a lot of guys. You really need to field a starting 22 every year. And last year's recruiting class, they signed 0 high school defensive tackles. I think that was a massive swing and a miss. And I think that was influencing Brian Kelly. Of course, you know, they pulled in Jimmy Lindsey last year, but I think they really realized that we need a big guy. So they brought in Bo Davis. So he's got his work cut out for him, and they're going to have to hit the portal because right now you've got Jalen Lee, Jacobian Guillory. Jacobian Guillory has played serviceable snaps in his career, but Jalen Lee hasn't really played much at Florida or LSU. And then you've got 2 true freshmen, Dom McKinley, who's a 5-star guy, but I think he's a guy who needs some time to develop, and Sean Washington, a JUCO player. So that's it. That's bad. The great news is you got one of the best defensive line coaches you could bring in to fix that problem.
How fixable is it for 2024?
Not very right now, but, you know, we're in the transfer portal era. So, you wait till that spring window, or maybe even based on we'll see if Kalen DeBoer can keep some guys there if that report is true about Alabama. But, maybe they have some guys hit the portal. They've got a 30-day window. But, yeah, I mean, the only way your defensive tackle position is going to be anywhere near what you want it to be is if you get lucky and you get a big guy out of the portal.
Yeah, I think that's the case. How do you feel about the rest of the defense as a whole as you sit here today?
Well, I like the coaching they've brought in. I think that they've got some work cut out for them in personnel. I like the guys they've brought in, like Jordan Gilbert at safety. But, portal guys, I mean, sometimes they come in and they're a big hit. And you saw that with the 2022 defense, and sometimes they're not. So I think you need to bring in a few more guys at the defensive secondary. I don't think this is a situation where, well, this guy just needs a year to develop type. You need a revamping. And you don't have a DB coach right now, not a safeties or a corners coach. So, again, I think that spring portal, I think LSU's going to have to hit it harder than they were intending. But the one position group where I do think that they are in good spot is linebacker. I think Whit Weeks will step into a bigger role this week or this year, and I expect Harold Perkins will look better in the Blake Baker offense, not to mention if Blake Baker does indeed end up coaching the linebackers as well. Remember the job he did 2 years ago, when he was the linebacker coach at LSU. He did an outstanding job. So looking forward to see that. That's the one position group I feel best about on this defense.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, is our guest talking football every Friday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. As you just mentioned, the reports now reaching ESPN television. They're on Twitter that Alabama and Kalen DeBoer are working on a contract. Didn't say breaking. Yeah. Kalen DeBoer is the next coach at Alabama, but working on a contract. Your thoughts on that fit?
Yeah, well, Kalen DeBoer is a guy who's had a meteoric rise. I mean, he has very quickly worked his way up the coaching ranks. Coaching he was at Fresno State for 2 years, and now he's at Washington for 2 years, and next thing you know, boom, he's being considered for Alabama to replace Nick Saban. That's pretty crazy, but you know what? When you're 115 and something, he's like 115 and 20 as a head coach, maybe better than that. He's won a lot, and he's won consistently. It's a big name to bring in Saban, and you were seeing all the other big names. It seemed like, either the rumors were over, too strong for what was going on there, or, Alabama was swinging and missing on guys. I was interested to see who they could bring in because it's an interesting position because it is still Alabama. That roster is still high. They have a rich history, but you got to follow Nick Saban, right? And then there's the question of, well, did Alabama make Nick Saban or did Nick Saban make Alabama? And I think most people would say the latter, even though they have had, a ton of other success in their history. But, in between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, that job was nothing special. So I am interested to see. Kalen DeBoer is the guy. You have to say it's a pretty darn good hire, but I think it is a safe assumption to say no one Alabama was going to bring in is going to match the success of Saban, or probably even close.
Yeah, trusty Wikipedia tells me DeBoer 104-12 in his head coaching career. That includes obviously his time at NAIA, Sioux Falls, and then Fresno State and Washington. It's pretty salty record. So we'll see what comes of that. As far as how much that affects LSU and kind of what LSU has been looking at 2 states over for the last 17 years. I mean, you mentioned at the top of the interview, what does it mean for Brian Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, that you look over the years, and 2 things can be true at one time. Nick Saban did more than any other LSU head coach to build the program up and introduce its golden era of the program. But that being said, on the flip side of the coin, he also probably did more damage to this program than any other opposing head coach has ever done. I mean, you think about games like 1-9-12, the day that shall not be mentioned. Think about 2012, the very next year, where LSU only had 2 regular season losses, and one of them was a heartbreaker to Alabama in the rematch. 2015, you go into Tuscaloosa with the number 2 ranked team, and they just completely crush you as a team. I've tallied it up, and Nick Saban plucked 22 top 10 Louisiana players out of the state. That's more than any other coach. It's close to as many as all the other teams combined, about half as many as the other teams combined. So he left a hole in that fence he built. So, that's just such a big deal, because the big thwart on LSU has been during its golden era since 2003, right, is, you're doing great. You've won 3 national championships. That's the second most of any other program other than Alabama during that tenure, but you're under Alabama's thumb. You're in Nick Saban's shadow the whole time, and you got to play him every single year. You lost 57 games since Nick Saban took the job at Alabama. 13 of them were to him. So, the fact that all that is there, this just makes your job. If Bama can just go back to just being a moderately successful SEC team, instead of just dominating the conference and the league the way they have, that makes this LSU. You can do things like the fact that LSU has won the West so few. I believe they won it 5 times since Saban got there, and they won 3 national championships. Like, if you can get some accolades, you won the West or you won the SEC, right, without having a national championship caliber team, man, that's just so helpful for this program to be able to do stuff. Being in Bama's shadow it's been hard.
No doubt about it. To round things out, we'll go back to LSU and what LSU looks to do on the offensive side as far as coaches go. Have not officially replaced Mike Denbrock to this point. What is your sense there?
Well, I think everybody's first sense was, they're just going to promote Joe Sloan with the outstanding job he's done. That being said, if that was his plan, and I'm sure Brian Kelly's doing some due diligence there, if that were his plan, it seems like that would be very easy to pull the trigger. Go ahead and do it. You've got certainty then. There's no uncertainty like you have right now. And just do it. But that hasn't happened yet. So my thoughts go to one of two things. One is Brian Kelly is vetting other options, and there's other options in his mind that aren't available yet. One thought came to mind was Tommy Rees.
Yep.
Not that I'm nuts over the name, but Nick Saban is stepping down. He was Brian Kelly's coordinator at Notre Dame, and there's a relationship there. He played for him. So that was one thought that came to mind. And, of course, Tommy Rees is allegedly interviewing for the head coaching job at Alabama. That would be, I think, the shock of the century if he somehow pulled that gig. But, that's one thing just to keep it. That would make sense. The other is just that Brian Kelly is hard-nosed, focused on getting this defense straightened out. He's pulled in 2 really big names, and maybe he's just like, I feel like my offensive staff is good enough. Let's get this defensive staff fixed because I need to fix it in a big way and then turn to my offense. So that's one or two places my brain is going right now.
We shall see how it shakes out. Preston, we appreciate the time. Have a great weekend, man.
All right, hon. Take it easy.
Preston Guy, tigerbait.com. You can find him on Twitter and all their stuff on YouTube as well. He's with us every Friday. All our Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Big football weekend in the National Football League coming up. We'll get to it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier.
My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed.
Time for myself.
We found our why.
Have you found yours?
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crap.
On Monday's OTB, we'll recap the first round of the NFL playoffs, who survived and advanced. Plus, do we have a next head coach at Alabama? And the latest from your LSU football Tigers. Holden Mayo stops by for some spread lines and a brand new edition of Weekend Winners. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Sounds like Kalen DeBoer is going to be the guy in Tuscaloosa. Now everybody's kind of got a hold on it, and all of them are phrased about the same, zeroing in on, working on details, finalizing. There's no like official signed, sealed, delivered, but multiple outlets now saying, yeah, this is where things are headed. So all indications are Kalen DeBoer is going to be Alabama's next head coach. If you just jumped in your car and like, oh, what's the deal on him? I went through really his entire resume and my thoughts on it at the top of the show. He checks a lot of boxes, and my final, thought on it is, okay, prove it. I know what the previous guy could do, and it was just awful to sit here in purple and gold and watch it. this guy, come on down. Let's see what you got. That's kind of where I am on that. So when that does, if it does become official over the next 90 minutes, we'll certainly let you know. We'll talk with Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers. He covers Auburn and has for a very, very long time. We'll talk to him about Auburn's basketball team, which plays LSU coming up on Saturday, but also his thoughts on that being the new in-state rival. And I'm just curious as to what the reaction was in Auburn, Alabama, when the announcement was made that Nick Saban's time as the head coach of the Tide was done. So Jason Caldwell, 25 minutes from right now. But it's wild card weekend in the NFL. We'll go chronologically with the National Football League as they get their playoff action underway tomorrow, 3:30 our time on NBC. The AFC's 5 seed, the Cleveland Browns, the 4 seed, the Houston Texans. Texans at home catching 2 points. How good's the Browns defense? I'll tell you how good the Browns defense is. They played 5 quarterbacks this year, 5 starting quarterbacks for the Browns. They only won the turnover battle twice in 17 games. Plus, they've been the second most penalized team in the NFL, and they're still in the playoffs as a favorite. That's how good the Browns defense has been. C.J. Stroud is the best quarterback in the NFL against zone defense. Against man, he's the 27th best quarterback in the NFL. The Browns are the best in the NFL at playing man-to-man. Should be a lot of that from Cleveland and Houston tomorrow. Joe Flacco and Amari Cooper went nuts against the Texans on Christmas Eve. Cooper had 265 yards, probably put a few of you in the fantasy football championship or won you a fantasy football championship. Davis Mills was the quarterback that day for the Texans because C.J. Stroud was in concussion protocol. This game is in Houston. Stroud makes a huge difference. He's very good. Joe Flacco's really old. I'm still taking Cleveland, and I'm going to lay the 2 points. That defense is ferocious, and I think they're going to go down there and play really, really well against Houston. Saturday night on Peacock, the Dolphins are at the Chiefs. Now, on paper, this looks like the most fun game in the NFL. Well, it's not, because the wind chill is going to be like negative 24. I can't even get that out of my mouth without shivering and feeling dread about the temperature for this football game.
Well, you're not going to be able to watch it anyway because it's on Peacock, right?
I got a wedding anyway. I won't be able to watch it, but the open bar will be there, and that'll be a good thing. 2 is 0-4 in sub-45-degree weather. This is going to be 60 degrees colder than that. These teams played in Week 9. Kansas City played a season-high 61% zone that day against this Waddle, Tyreek Hill high-flying offense, and they slowed Tyreek down. He only had 62 yards in that game. He was only held below that 3 other times, and one of those was the game he got hurt and he hurt his ankle. So they did as good a job as anybody against Tyreek Hill by playing zone. Patrick Mahomes has thrown multiple touchdown passes in 6 straight postseason games, but these aren't those Chiefs. These Chiefs are 5-5 in their last 10 games. I'm just programmed to think about that this is a 4.5-point number that the Chiefs are favored by. And the fact that it is going to be that cold and that uncomfortable and that miserable, just give me the points. I don't even know why. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be significantly better than the Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs have been mediocre the last 10 weeks, and if it's going to be negative 20-something, I might as well take some points and assume it's going to be a close game. I can see missed kicks. I can see fluky fumbles. I can see a lot of missed tackles because it's uncomfortable. I just know I offered, not that I was going to actually follow through on it, but I asked 2 of our salespeople this morning if I gave you a private jet to the game, free tickets on the 40-yard line with unlimited beer, would you go? And both of them said unequivocally, no, I would not go. And I'm right there with them. You could not get me into that football game at that temperature. If I'm the commissioner of the NFL, which I don't think is imminent, I don't believe I'm going to be named that really soon, I'm putting a dome on every stadium. Every stadium's a dome. We're playing football in good weather. Not going to be the case in KC tomorrow. Sunday, noon, CBS, the Steelers, 7 seed in the AFC at the number 2 seed Buffalo Bills. Both teams fired their offensive coordinator mid-season. That's pretty rare in the NFL for a playoff game. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016. We think about the great job that Mike Tomlin has done, and you could make that argument, but they hadn't won a playoff game since 2016. The Bills are 13-3 at home in the playoffs since 1970. I'm sure they don't want to put a dome on their stadium. They seem to win a lot of those cold weather games in January up in Buffalo. The Steelers this year won 9 games by 1 score. They had 1 win by 23, the only win they had that was by more than 1 score, and that was against a Burrowless Bengals team. Mason Rudolph is playing quarterback for the Steelers. TJ Watt's not playing. This is a bad recipe for Pittsburgh, who's just not very good anyway. Give me the Bills. I'll lay the 10 points gladly. Sunday at 3:30 on Fox, the Packers, the 7th seed in the NFC, against the Cowboys in Arlington. The boys are the 2 seed in the NFL. They are in the NFC. They are laying 7 points in this one. This is a classic matchup. You've had the Ice Bowl. You've had Dez caught it up in Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers, remember that play he made in the playoffs a couple of years ago? 35-yarder right down the left sideline. Dak Prescott and Jordan Love have led the NFL in touchdown passes this year. Dak 36, Jordan Love with 32. Green Bay 28th in the NFL against the run this year. That means Tony Pollard could get going. Packers did win 6 of their last 8 games, and they've never lost in AT&T Stadium. 4-0 against the Cowboys, 1-0 in the Super Bowl that they won against the Steelers. I'll take the points and trust Jordan Love to keep this thing within a touchdown. I think the Cowboys win, but I'll take the Packers to cover. Sunday night, last game we'll get to here. The Rams are at the Lions. To me, this is the juiciest matchup of the weekend in terms of storyline. You got Stafford going back to Detroit. You got Goff facing the Rams, who he brought to the Super Bowl. This is the first Lions home playoff game since 1993. I'll give you some fun facts about 1993. Bill Clinton got sworn in. Groundhog Day with Bill Murray got released. Meatloaf had a number 1. I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that. That was 1993. And Pete Davidson, for the youngsters that don't know who Meatloaf is, Pete Davidson was born in 1993. That's the last time the Lions hosted a playoff game. Sean McVay, 7-3 in the playoffs as a head coach. Weird note here, the Rams have missed 16 field goals or extra points this year. That's the most of any team in the NFL since the 2001 Steelers. The Lions have been the best against the spread in the NFL this year. They're 12-5. They've also been the best on the over, 11-6. I'm not trusting Detroit. I think that place is going to be on fire. I think the Lions are a lot better than they have been in a long time, but I'm not trusting Detroit. Give me the Rams. I'll take the 3 points. If the Lions eke by with a field goal, I'll take that, but I think Stafford's going to go up there and break some hearts, and that's going to be a weird, weird thing for them up there in Detroit. They love him. They know that he left and he had to do what he had to do, but now the Lions seem to be the better team. If Stafford goes up there and wins, that's going to make them real cranky. Big Monday night game we'll get to on Monday, but that's your look at the wild card round in the NFL. My picks: Browns -2, Miami +4.5, the Bills -10, Packers +7, and the Rams +3. We'll come back and close out hour number 1. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier. My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed.
Time for myself.
We found our why.
Have you found yours?
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to
Join us for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Walk-Ons in Brewley. We'll see how the NFL playoffs went over the weekend and if Alabama has a coach yet. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
You heard that promo from Charlie. We'll see if Alabama has a coach yet. It appears they do. According to everybody, it's just a formality at this point, and the papers will eventually be signed. Kalen DeBoer is going to be Alabama's next head football coach. They're going to be throwing the football a lot in Tuscaloosa. That's Kalen DeBoer's MO. I don't know how that fits into Jalen Milroe's skill set, quite frankly. And Michael Penix is out of eligibility. So curious to see what that offense looks like in year one under Kalen DeBoer. But there's a long way to go before that. Isaiah Bonds in the transfer portal. They lost a 5-star receiver commit a couple days ago when Saban retired. So there's a lot that's got to work itself out in Tuscaloosa, and we'll certainly be there to uncover all of it. Jason Caldwell covers Auburn. We're going to talk basketball with him in 12 minutes, but Jason also covers football really first and foremost, and we'll get his thoughts on the new head man across the state in Tuscaloosa, where Jason is in Auburn. But I do want to briefly, here at the end of the hour, just touch on the SEC basketball slate that's coming up tomorrow. Some interesting games. Mike White and Georgia off to a nice 2-0 start. They welcome Tennessee in. The Vols lost on the road at Starkville earlier this week, so they're looking to try not to drop to 1-2 in SEC play in Georgia, trying to move to 3-0. Tennessee, this is something you'll hear me say a good bit as we kind of inch into basketball season. So old, so veteran and tough. Josiah Jordan-James has been there forever. Santiago Vescovi has been there forever. Zakai Ziegler is an old player. They brought in Dalton Connect, who's an older player that they brought in as a transfer. Like, they're such a veteran group, and so I expect them to respond tomorrow. I think they'll handle Georgia in Athens. But if Mike White can win that one, that'd be impressive. Ole Miss got smacked in their opener against Tennessee, but responded with a win. So they're 14-1, 1-1 in league play. They'll take on the Vanderbilt team that you watched on Tuesday in Oxford. I expect Ole Miss to take care of its business in that one. Kentucky playing very well, playing very fast, scoring a ton of points. That win they had in Gainesville last Saturday was so impressive to me because they were losing the entire game and then found a way to get it done there at the end. And Texas A&M is struggling right now. That's a team with a lot of high expectations. You bring back the SEC Player of the Year preseason in Wade Taylor. You've got Henry Coleman. You've got a lot of veteran guys, and they look up and they're 0-2 in league play. And don't look now, but you're hosting Kentucky in this game, which is not easy. And then your next two are on the road at Arkansas, who's not very good but desperate, and at LSU, who I don't think is great but beats you in College Station before you play Missouri. So it could be a bumpy start in a year with a lot of expectations for Buzz Williams there in College Station. So we'll see. That's a 1 o'clock ESPN game, number 6 Kentucky at Texas A&M. South Carolina, Missouri, I don't think is going to stir up a lot. Look, Coach Gates at Missouri had a really nice first year last year with all those transfers he brought in. Now a lot of them are gone. They're 8-7 on the year, 0-2 in league play. They'll welcome in South Carolina. Battle of the Columbias there in Missouri. Arkansas, another team that you figure would have some high expectations. They're 0-2 to start their league play, and they're headed to Gainesville to play before they play Texas A&M. So a start that they probably weren't expecting. Eric Musselman has had such a good run there at Arkansas in his first few years. Deep tournament runs, NBA players that have been drafted, high recruiting classes, and this team just doesn't look to have it. They just look far less talented and able than his teams have been in the past. But Florida, under Coach Golding, has not been great to start in SEC play. They are 0-2. I thought they played well in the Kentucky game last week. Then they went to Ole Miss, and they couldn't get a stop. They lost 103-85. Scoring 85 on a team that is coached by Chris Beard is pretty good, but when you give up 103, that's not super awesome. And I would advise Florida to win in this game against Arkansas at home in the O-Dome, because then they're going to Tennessee next week. Then they're at Missouri, and they play Mississippi State. The league's pretty decent. There's not a lot of absolute doormats in the league outside of probably Vanderbilt. So that's you got to get wins where you can find them. And then Alabama and Mississippi State, the closest two teams in the SEC. If you didn't know that, little trivia, closest two campuses together in the SEC, Alabama and Mississippi State. That'll be at the Hump at 7:30. Alabama 10-5, 2-0 in SEC play. Mississippi State is 12-3 under Chris Jans, 1-1 in league play. So that's your look around the Southeastern Conference in basketball. I like Bama to win at Mississippi State. I like Florida to beat Arkansas and knock them to 0-3. I like South Carolina to go to Missouri and win. I like Kentucky to beat Texas A&M. I like Ole Miss to beat Vanderbilt, and I like Tennessee to go to Athens and win. So a lot of favorites, a lot of chalk eating there, and I'm sure some of that will be absolutely wrong, but that's where I am. LSU faces Auburn in Neville Arena. That just doesn't click. It's Auburn Arena to me, but LSU and Auburn play. It'll be a 5 o'clock game on the SEC Network tomorrow. Battle of 2-0 teams. Auburn's got a really good team on paper. I'll get to a little bit of it in the second hour, just how well they've played. It's a daunting task for Matt McMahon and LSU. If you missed yesterday, we had Matt McMahon on the show, and he said, look, we got to shoot it better. I'm glad we're 2-0. We got to shoot the ball better, but they've kind of established themselves a little bit of identity on defense, turning the people over, and Jalen Cook has just been a difference maker for him, so he'll have to be great in the game against Auburn coming up on Saturday. We'll get a preview of that from Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers coming up at the top of hour number 2. Also, to get to in hour number 2, the Saints have issues that need to be cleaned up in the offseason. I think that likely goes without saying. I'm going to talk about the one that is first and foremost, in my opinion, and just how they could potentially go about fixing it, whether it's in free agency or in the draft or with player development. One way or another, there are a lot of issues with the Saints, but one that I think has got to be dealt with first and foremost. We'll get to that in hour number 2, and I'll give my full breakdown of the Auburn Tigers as well as we get ready for LSU and Auburn tomorrow. If you missed the news of the day, just getting in the car, just finishing up your week of work, Kalen DeBoer, Washington head coach, very likely going to be the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Every outlet reporting that that is near finalized, and even Ross Dellinger went as far as to say that Washington has started the search process for their new head football coach. So somebody put it very eloquently on Twitter. Imagine telling Kalen DeBoer 3 years ago, when he was coming off a 3-3 season, COVID-shortened season at Fresno State, that, hey, Kalen, you're going to be the next Alabama head coach in 3 years. I don't know if anyone could have believed that at that point, but that's certainly looks to be the case. So I gave my thoughts on Kalen DeBoer at the top of the show. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Cork's turned 1 this week, 1-year anniversary for our friends over there at Cork's. Get on by and celebrate with them. Got fantastic jumbo Gulf shrimp, clean, crispy fried catfish. You can get one platter or another, or you can get the combination platter, which I very much enjoy. Come with the crispy shoestring fries, some coleslaw, and a honey buttered biscuit. They got all your sauces covered as well. Tartar sauce, cocktail sauce. I prefer the Cork sauce. You just go straight up ketchup as well. It's fantastic fried seafood. And they got great po' boys and crawfish etouffee over there at Cork's as well. When you go and buy Cork's, Jefferson between Foster and Jefferson, tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there. We appreciate the folks at Cork bringing you our Friday shows each and every week. Missed any of hour number 1, you can always catch it on demand. We'll take a pause for Sports Center. When we come back, we'll get the Auburn perspective on Kalen DeBoer to Alabama, as well as a look at their basketball team. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. ESPN has learned Washington coach Kalen DeBoer is now negotiating a contract to replace Nick Saban at Alabama. ESPN's Mark Schlabach.
Well, I think with the transfer portal still open, I think in today's college football, you've got to make a decision. You got to keep your roster from turning over. I think that the days of exhaustive searches to find the best guy are over.
Mark Schlabach, Alabama wideout Isaiah Bond entered the transfer portal today. Meanwhile, Florida State will sign Mike Norvell to an enhanced contract, and Texas is working on a contract extension for Steve Sarkisian. The Patriots will hire Gerard Mayo as the team's new head coach. Mayo played 8 seasons in New England. He joined Bill Belichick's staff in 2019 as linebackers coach. Mayo will be the youngest coach in the league at 37, a month younger than Sean McVay of the Rams. At least a foot of snow expected in the Buffalo area this weekend. The Bills hosting the Steelers for a wild card playoff game on Sunday.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Monday. As the coaching carousel continues, I'll tell you what job I think is the best job available. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Means there's only 1 hour left in this work week for us here. Thanks for hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Let's start the hour by heading out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We'll chat with our guy Jason Caldwell for all things Auburn. 24 years covering Auburn for the 24/7 Sports Network, auburnundercover.com, and inside the Auburn Tigers. Jason, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Hunt. How about you?
Doing very well. We'll get to some basketball, but we know this is a football part of the world, and there's a lot of news going on in that state over the last 48 hours. Sounds like Kalen DeBoer is going to be the guy. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think a really good football coach. The guy that's won everywhere he's been. But he's going into the most difficult situation that a football coach can go into. I was 9 years old or 10 years old when Bear Bryant retired, and I remembered what happened with Ray Perkins and Bill Curry that followed and the difficulty. And I remember, hey, guys trying to replace Joe Paterno and guys trying to replace Bobby Bowden. It's going to be a very, very difficult situation. He's a good football coach, but that's not always the determination on whether a guy's successful or not. So we'll see. It didn't matter to me who was hired in this situation. It could have been anybody. The job you're stepping into is extremely tough, and we'll see what happens.
I'm right there on the same page as you. You're in that state, obviously. Have you heard the whispers over the last couple of months, or were you shocked to hear it earlier this week? Actually, we had heard things for a couple of months from some folks that know, people in the coaching profession that thought, hey, this might be it. It might be a possibility. But the interesting thing is that Nick, our guys at 24/7, Matt Zenitz and those guys, John Talty, did a great job of kind of documenting and saying, look, at 5 minutes before he went in that meeting, he was on the phone with a potential assistant coach hire, and then Nick Saban admitted the same. He said, look, I wasn't really sure until I walked in the door. So I think people that knew that there were some thoughts, and I think, looking at the interview, I think he basically said, look, it came to the point where I knew that I couldn't give it all I needed to give, and so I think he tried to talk himself into staying, but he knew that wasn't going to be enough. Let's transition to basketball. Auburn 13-2 on the hardwood, 2-0 in SEC play. I was thinking about this a little bit earlier, and Auburn's had some really, really good teams under Bruce Pearl, and their identities have been different. What is this team's identity?
Depth is its identity. It kind of reminds me of watching Michigan and Washington and watching Florida Atlantic and UConn last year in basketball, and those teams that you go and you go, there's more talented teams in the country, but they're deep and they're veteran presence. And that's what this basketball is. This isn't the most the talented team Auburn's had in this run. Heck, they're probably more talented each of the last 2 years. But, you're talking about Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler and those guys. But you look and you go, they got a bunch of guys that play a lot of basketball, a couple of newcomers that have helped out, and guys that continue to improve. And I think that's probably the strength of this team, is that, they got those guys that have been around and played, newcomers that have played, and then they've been pretty unselfish. So to me, that's it. It's a group of guys that doesn't care who gets the glory, and that has shown up pretty well in basketball and football here in the last 12 months or so.
Janai Broome, 6'10" junior forward who we saw last year in the Southeastern Conference, but he's been really good, 15 points per game. Describe his game for us.
Yeah, he's really interesting. He's kind of an old school guy. Now he'll step out and shoot it a little bit more, but he's a back to the basket, jump hook, do some of those things, and he kind of plays that old school game a little bit. So he's been solid, and the development of Dylan Cardwell has been really one of the more important parts of this team. He's improved in every area, and he's extremely athletic, big athletic guy that can run the floor, brings energy, and so that 1-2 combination has been good for them as they've kind of played a little bit different than some teams. Even though they're playing kind of a 5-out, then they don't have a 5 that's going to stand out there and shoot a bunch of threes.
KD Johnson jumps off the screen when I'm watching. I think it's because he's so emotional. You don't see guys, I know he's already transferred once, but hang around this late in their career when they're not starting every game, and he doesn't start. What's his role emotionally and then on the floor for this Auburn team?
I think you look at two guys, him and Chad Baker-Mazara, junior college transfer that was at San Diego State at one time. Those guys come off the bench and are energy guys. But again, you look at it and you go, man, they can hang their heads and go, man, I want to be playing 35 minutes. And this is a team, you look at like Trey Donaldson at point guard, he's averaging 15, 16 minutes a game, but he's played extremely well. And they've got some guys that just don't care who gets the glory. They're just all like, hey, let's go win basketball games. KD's one of those guys, and yeah, he is the Tasmanian devil at times, where he's just all over the place. And but his defensive intensity and his ability to just totally worry the stew out of everybody on the court on the other team is one of the key things that makes this team go.
What's something that gives Auburn some trouble? They're 13-2. They hadn't had much, but is there any weakness in that Auburn team?
I think you look at whenever they play Texas A&M, and for whatever reason, his style of coaching impacts them a lot. I think you look at it in probably physicality. Texas A&M is a really, really physical team, and you look at it. Auburn's not the biggest. Chad Baker-Mazara is not a physical guy. Aiden Holloway's not a big guard as a true freshman. So physicality probably is the thing. But there's not a ton of that left because now they'll foul everybody out on the court in about 10 minutes if you play that way normally. And so that's been the one thing. And then, big guards that get up in your face and that kind of attack. They not like I said, not a ton of size at guard, but they got some quickness. But that's probably the two things you look at more than anything.
I asked Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, yesterday on our show to compare Auburn Arena, now Neville Arena, to the rest of the venues in the league, because he's now seen them all quite a few times, and he said he thinks it's tops when Auburn's got it cooking. How did that come to be, and what's it like in there when Auburn's got it going?
It is the best decision that anybody at Auburn's ever made. And we got people, you got fans now that go, it was too small. They should have added all these seats because nobody can get tickets. But that's exactly what you want. You want that to be packed all the time. Everybody's close to the floor, low ceiling. It is the perfect basketball venue. And I haven't been to a game in Cameron Indoor. I have toured it and seen the size of it. and you think about Duke, and you think about how close the students are to the court and how much they can impact the game, and that's what it does. And so it creates a massive home court advantage for Auburn, and it gets really, really loud in there. And so it's been one of the keys. Now, obviously, the timing of it with Bruce Pearl, but Tony Barbie coached in there, and it wasn't that much of a home court advantage. It's kind of like I say with football. They go, what are the greatest home field advantages in the country? And I say, well, tell me who the best teams are, and I'll tell you which ones that have the best home field advantage. Kind of the same thing in basketball. For a long time, Tennessee wasn't that much of a home court advantage, and all of a sudden you get good again, and it's tough to win there. So, but I think the combination of the crowd and Auburn being better has made it a pretty tough place to play.
Jason, always enjoy our chats. Thanks, man. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Jason Caldwell at ITAT Jason. Been covering Auburn for 2.5 decades, and we always check in with him when LSU plays Auburn, whether it's in football field or in basketball. Tigers tomorrow at 5 o'clock from the Plains. I'll give my kind of thoughts on Auburn coming up here in about 20 minutes on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. When we come back, the Saints, in my opinion, have one need that dwarfs the rest coming into this offseason. I'll give my thoughts on that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthy.
My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed.
Time for myself.
We found our why.
Have you found yours?
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Do you plan to travel, work part-time, or move somewhere warmer when you retire? At Edward Jones, we understand that no two retirement paths are the same. Contact your local financial advisor today.
In Baton Rouge, call Brandon Becknell. In Denham Springs, call Scott Landry. And in Plaquemine, call Kyle Robichaux.
Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Cut through the static and listen to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge in high definition. Simply tune to 98.1 and select HD2.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 5 brands on one lot. Shop BayouAutomotive.com.
This weekend for wall-to-wall football as we have all 6 playoff games. We start off Saturday afternoon with Browns-Texans, then all day Sunday before wrapping things up Monday night with Eagles-Buccaneers. Catch all of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
It's a beautiful thing to sit here on a Friday and look at these panels that we've got here in the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio with the delicious crispy fried catfish and the shoestring fries, big platter of fried shrimp there. It's also a bit of a curse because it looks fantastic and I can't really eat any of it at the moment. Of course, it's really good. You should get by there and get some. Let's talk a little bit of Saints here on this Friday. As the playoff teams in the NFL get set to start their trek toward a hopeful Super Bowl, the Saints are at home and evaluating the entirety of the organization and how to move forward after what I would term a disappointing 9-8 season. And so you start to look at areas of concern and areas that you've got to upgrade. And as I was looking at it, it jumps off the page, and it's pretty obvious. So those of you that follow the team very closely, pull for the team, will know where I'm headed. But you've got massive problems at both tackle spots on the offense. Massive. Because Ryan Ramczyk's career is in question. I don't know if it's in doubt, but it's certainly in question. And if he returns, is he healthy enough to be a serviceable player? You're talking about a former All-Pro who has not been that, but he's been hurt. Can he get that worked out to where he can be a serviceable player? I'm not expecting him to be an All-Pro again, but can he get it to where he's a serviceable player? Can he not? Is his career over? That's a big, big question. And you drafted Trevor Penning now 2 years ago, basically, with the thought that he's your starting left tackle and your franchise left tackle, and generally that doesn't work out, kind of like Andrews Pete. You just find a slot for him on the interior, maybe the right tackle spot, but he's shown to this point nothing that would indicate that he can take on any of those roles. So rewind 2 years, you've got a Pro Bowl caliber right tackle and a first-round selection in a left tackle, plus an insurance policy in James Hurst to man your tackle spots, and you feel like you've got a bit of a runway there. You fast forward those 2 years, don't know about Ramczyk, and now if you've got optimism about Trevor Penning, you're more optimistic than I. Then you look at Andrews Pete, and that's a guy that his deal is up, but his deal's not up. You could void it, but now he's an essential part of your offensive line. This is a guy that was maligned because of the pick that you used on him and his level of play, but you had to kick him out to left tackle this year, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl, but he was serviceable. You're now going to have to extend Andrews Pete because you don't have a choice. The other choice is to not have any tackles. Cam Irving is an unrestricted free agent. That was a nice sign off the street, and you put him in there, and he gave you snaps. That's a veteran presence. But if you're talking about being a championship-level team, Cam Irving's not one of your starting tackles. James Hurst signed a 3-year deal in March of 2021. That's up. So you start to look at the boxes like there's nobody locked in here. There's no one you can point to on the Saints roster and go, yeah, that's one of my tackles. I think it's reasonable to think that Ryan Ramczyk may have some snaps left, but he may not. I think it's reasonable to suggest Andrus Peat can play on the offensive line, but does that give you the warm and fuzzies? Andrus Peat being your franchise left tackle at this point in his career with a quarterback who's not exactly Michael Vick or Josh Allen back there? No. You don't know what Trevor Penning's doing. Might be on the field goal team at this point. That's his contribution. And you got a decision to make on Cam Irving. So you can try to address this in the draft at the 14th pick and hope that there's a run on quarterbacks and that the wide receivers are taken the way they usually are. I saw a mock draft this morning that had J.C. Latham, big Alabama right tackle, targeted to the Saints. And that makes some sense. Bama's line wasn't great this year, but I don't think Latham was a huge problem. You had a true freshman at left tackle. It's not a surefire thing, but as I sit here 3 months before we crank the draft up, you got to think that the Saints are going to have to target tackle early. I know we have delusions of grandeur of, hey, they could draft a quarterback in this draft, move up. They got a few like this. It's not going to happen. They're married to their quarterback. They're married for the time being to their head coach. And now you've got to start trying to plug holes. And right now, I don't love what they are on the defensive front. I don't love what they are at linebacker. I don't love what they are at running back, quite frankly. But they're not going to shuffle that too much right now. The biggest glaring hole is tackle. You've got Ruiz and McCoy in there, and they weren't great this year by any stretch. But they are what they are. They're what you've got on the interior. They're at least there. You have humans. I got nothing at tackle. I've got Ryan Ramczyk that's maybe not there. I've got Trevor Penning who probably can't play. I've got Andrus Peat and Cam Irving and James Hurst that could be out of town if you don't re-sign them. That's nothing. So from where I'm sitting here, where I'm working off of is Andrus Peat extending his deal. Hopefully Ryan Ramczyk comes back, and you got to make a draft pick early. You can, generally speaking, go find the same veteran in Hurst or Cam Irving that's maybe was a starter once upon a time and now has moved toward the middle or twilight of their career that you can add as a depth piece that can still play. Cam Irving far from embarrassed himself this year. And if you want to bring him back, sure. You have to pay him, but sure. As far as your starters go, though, that is a glaring hole. And it's more fun when the Saints go up and trade up for Brandon Cooks or go grab Chris Olave. That's fun. Fun to draft Kendre Miller because you turn on the highlight tape and, oh, man, look at the touchdowns. Look at the playmaking ability. Look at the athleticism. Not as fun to go grab a defensive lineman and an offensive lineman. But the Saints have proven that they like to do that. We've seen that with McCoy and Ramczyk and Ruiz and Penning. We've seen that with Brazee. Like, this is Davenport, Rankins. Like, that's kind of the MO. And if we know anything at this point, is that this Saints brass, though Breeze and Peyton are not here, still walking those footsteps. So maybe that's the positive here, is that, yeah, they're set in their ways, but their ways are to address things up front, and they really need to address things up front. They just need to do a better job of drafting than they did with Ruiz, or they did with Peyton Turner, or Trevor Penning, or some of these guys that just have not worked. That, to me, job one in the offseason, outside of maybe getting somebody else to call the plays. But as far as personnel goes on the field, that's a big, big deal for the New Orleans Saints. Friday Show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. I want to briefly, before we get to LSU and Auburn, talk about what appears to be the puppet game that Jimmy Sexton has played here. Now, this is unconfirmed, but I'm connecting dots here. That's what we're doing. Kalen DeBoer had a great year at Washington last year. And he got off to a really good start this year. You had a quarterback that was putting up incredible numbers. You were winning games. And Washington had an AD change. You'll remember it because Troy Dannon took the job. He was the Tulane AD. In October, he went up to Seattle to become Washington's athletic director. Famously gave the line, like, I want to go somewhere where I can win championships, kind of a shot at Tulane, and now he's at Washington. Well, his job, first thing, was to try to lock up this football coach that was winning really, really at a high clip on the most high-profile spot on campus. And the reports are surfacing from those in the know in college football that they have attempted time and time again over the last 4 months to get Kalen DeBoer's contract extended and restructured to give him a raise. Kalen DeBoer hired Jimmy Sexton. And that extension and raise never got signed. Now, far more often than not just in college coaching, but in any line of work, when the boss comes up with a new contract that has more money attached to it, you go ahead and scribble the old John Hancock on there and watch the direct deposit hit. Like, let's get this thing worked out. And that did not happen for Jimmy Sexton and Kalen DeBoer. Why? Well, if somebody knows that Nick Saban is on the way out, isn't it not Jimmy Sexton? And wouldn't Jimmy Sexton potentially be in contact with Greg Byrne and Alabama's brass about that? And wouldn't Greg Byrne say, hey, what about that guy you got in Seattle? How's that going? What's he like? And then Jimmy Sexton's going, well, he's good. So you telling me that that's the guy you probably want? So I shouldn't negotiate this raise for him that would increase his buyout and make you, Alabama, pay Washington more money when you hire him coming up in January? Okay, well, we'll just hold off on the raise. We don't need to sign that. Not around Thanksgiving. We made the playoffs. There's that extension. It's on the desk now. We'll pass that off. We're good. We're good. Washington AD. We don't need to be getting a raise here. We're fine. Thanks. And then Alabama was able to swoop in 2 days after Nick Saban retires and hire Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, it's official. Chris Lowe just tweeted it.
Okay.
He has agreed to a deal to replace Nick Saban.
I mean, and that's where this has been heading for the last hour and a half. But, like, I'm not an insider here. I don't have sources on the discussions between Nick Saban and Jimmy Sexton, or Jimmy Sexton and Greg Byrne, or Kalen DeBoer and Jimmy Sexton. Or I don't have any of that information. I'm just kind of connecting some dots here with what information has been presented. And multiple college football media members have said, hey, they tried to extend him for 2 months, and he never signed it. That's the Jimmy Sexton puppet game that we see every single year. And in every other line of work, conflict of interest arises, just not in the college football coaching world. You got one guy who runs the entire Southeast, and he just negotiates new contracts, raises, the buyouts, who's going where. It's a free-for-all in the Sexton building. Maybe none of that happened, and this is all on the up and up. But doesn't it sound like Washington made an effort? Alabama knew they were going to be in the market for a head coach. They told Jimmy Sexton, hey, that new client you got in Seattle, chill out with the buyout. We're coming. He'll get plenty of money, and you'll get a cut. Just don't sign that because we don't want to write the extra check. I mean, Dan Lanning's buyout was more than $20 million. Kalen DeBoer, peanuts. Is it completely tinfoil hat? Am I a conspiracy theorist for suggesting that maybe there's some backstage, behind-the-scenes stuff going on? I don't know. None of that matters at this point. Washington's got to find a new coach, and Alabama's got their guy. It's Kalen DeBoer. I would say good luck, Kalen, but I don't want you to have any good luck. I hope it's not great luck. But we'll see. Should be very, very interesting. LSU and Auburn playing tomorrow. My scouting report on the Auburn Tigers and what LSU needs to do to stay in this game tomorrow on the Plains. That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hurry, these deals are too good to last long. Shop in-store or online today, because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid 1/4 through 1/24. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See Lowes.com for details.
Did you get a new truck?
Yeah.
Did you lift it?
Duh.
You could take the boy out of Broadmoor. You gotta take the Broadmoor out the boy. Where'd you get it done?
Alpha Customs.
What else did they do?
Put new rims on it.
What else did you get?
Tires.
Is that all?
No.
What else did they do?
Tinted the windows.
Where are they?
Caroline Highway in Prairieville and Lafayette.
Are they online?
Of course.
What's that web address?
alphacustoms.net.
So join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan's Cigar Bar. We'll have the latest on the Alabama coaching search, plus the Riot Radio Hours return. It's Friday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Kalen DeBoer, officially the head coach at Alabama. Gave you my full thoughts on him before this became official at the top of the show, so if you missed him, you can check it out on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, or on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube right now, you can scroll right on back, and I'll give you my my thoughts on the new head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Somebody said that It took Alabama 48 hours to replace the greatest college football coach of all time. Iowa's offensive coordinator vacancy has been there for like 30-something days, and they haven't filled it. So, look, something tells me the head coach at Alabama a little more desirable and lucrative job than the OC at Iowa, but what do I know? Auburn and LSU going to go at it in Neville Arena coming up tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And we talked to Jason Caldwell about it half an hour ago. Auburn's good. They're 13-2, 2-0 in the league. They lost to Baylor up in South Dakota in an early season tournament, and they lost at Appalachian State. Can't claim to have watched any of that game. They've beaten Notre Dame, who's not very good, Virginia Tech. They beat USC. They beat Indiana. They won at Arkansas by 32 points, which just doesn't happen. They beat Texas A&M earlier this week by 11. On paper, Auburn is terrifying. Terrifying. And we talked to Jason Caldwell. I said it's not the most talented team that they've had, but they play well together. Their offensive efficiency is 13th in the country. Their defensive efficiency is 8th in the country. Like, we saw the Cam Thomas, Trenton Watford, Javonte Smart, LSU offensive team in that category. Then we saw Will Wade's last team with Xavier Pinson and Tari Eason and Brandon Murray and those guys be a top defensive efficiency team, but they were really bad on the other side of the ball. Cam and Javonte and Watford didn't play good defense, and the Xavier Pinson team with Tari Eason couldn't score. This team does them both. 13th in the country in offensive efficiency, 8th in defensive efficiency, 16th in points per game on offense. They're 23rd in the country in offensive rebounding percentage. They are 6th in assists per possession in the country, 5th in assist to turnover ratio in the country. All of those are in the top 23. You're in the top 25 in anything in college basketball. That's elite, because there are 300 some odd teams playing college basketball, and for you to be in the top 23 of any of those stats is really impressive. And they don't do it the way you would think with the Bruce Pearl team, that you would think it's kind of frantic because he's high energy and they've had teams that go back and no. They're 128th in the country in possessions. LSU plays faster than Auburn. On the defensive side, opponent's shooting percentage, they're number 3 in the country in field goal percentage defense. They're 12th in the country in block percentage. And the thing that stands out to me, when you are so good at opposing shooting percentage, top 5 in the country, you block more shots than everybody but 12 teams in the country. Teams only they don't attempt many free throws against Auburn. 255th in the country. Like, that's really good. To defend at that level and not put guys on the foul line is incredible. We talked with Jason about this earlier in the hour. Like, their 2019 team they had that went to the Final Four, Jared Harper was a guard on that team. Bryce Brown was a guard on that team. Shot threes when they got off the bus. I mean, they were just jacking up threes from November to March, and they got to the Final Four. They actually didn't have a great regular season that year, but they got to the Final Four. A couple of years ago, they were really good with Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, who were owning the paint. Now, Smith obviously did a lot on the outside as well, but Walker Kessler led the country in shot block. They were a front court team. Like, Bruce Pearl's team don't necessarily have a set-in-stone identity. This team's got balance. Janai Broom, 6'10", junior post, 15 points, 8 rebounds a game. Not a good free throw shooter, under 60%, so filed that away. Obviously, you'll have to deal with him with Will Baker and with Hunter Dean, and maybe if Damon Collins is ready to give you some minutes as well. Jalen Williams, big, physical, 6'8", 245-pound grad student. He's a good, skilled player. 60% from the floor, 81% from the free throw line. So that's 2 really good inside players for them. KD Johnson's the guy that I want to talk about a little bit here. He doesn't start. He actually started on the Walker Kessler, Jabari Smith team a couple years ago. But he doesn't start now, but he's kind of their heart and soul. He's wildly emotional. If you watch this game and you're an LSU fan, you will hate KD Johnson quickly because he's yelling at people. He's being very demonstrative. He's talking to the refs. He's fist pumping. He's screaming at the crowd. When the timeout comes, he's popping his jersey. Like, this guy is intense. And he's part of their heartbeat. Sometimes he gets carried away shooting too much, though. There are better offensive options than KD Johnson for Auburn in this game. So for me, I've got some keys for LSU against Auburn. And this is a really, really difficult assignment for this LSU team. LSU, to stay in this game, not even to win it, to stay in the game, is going to have to make 10 threes. If LSU makes 5 or 6 threes in this game, it's going to be a disaster. I'm not telling you to go out there and just start jacking them up from all over the place, but you're going to have to make 10 threes in this game. And you're going to have to get to the free throw line in this game. You have to. Got to. Now, this arena is a hornet's nest. We have seen good LSU teams go in there and get smoked. It's really hard to play in there. So for this team that LSU's got, you're going to give up a 6-0 run against Auburn. You're going to give up maybe an 8-0 run, 8-2 run against Auburn. You cannot let it go 19-1. You can't give up a 19-1 run. And that's incumbent upon Jalen Cook, fourth-year player, Jordan Wright, fourth-year player, Will Baker, fifth-year player, Derek Fountain, fourth-year player, Imwani Wilkinson, fourth-year player. You are old. There is no reason for you to go in there and pee down your leg. Like, they may hit a couple of threes. That student section's right on top of you. They're going to be going nuts. Take the ball out, hold it, get into your set, and don't force a shot. You've got to stop the bleeding multiple times in this game. It's a hard assignment for LSU tomorrow. I don't have a number on this game yet. I would imagine LSU is a significant underdog. I would guess more than 10 points. I mean, Auburn absolutely bludgeoned Arkansas, and they took it to Texas A&M, beat them by double figures. My guess on this number is 12, 13, 15 points. I'm not Jimmy. I'm not going to pretend to be the guy who can give you those numbers. But this, in my opinion, is one of the best teams in the league, and I still think LSU is very much part of the bottom half of the league, if not the bottom third of the league. So we talked to Matt McMahon yesterday. He's happy they're 2-0. That's a good start to league play. 25% from the three-point line is not going to get it. You've got to make some threes. You've got to get to the free throw line. If you can get Janai Broome in foul trouble, that's great. And you've got to show some poise when that run comes, when that spurt comes, because it's coming. Like, you're not going to go over there and get out to a 12-point lead on Auburn and just keep them at arm's length the whole game. That ain't happening. No shot. My gut tells me that this is not going to be a very pleasant second half for LSU, just being realistic. That's how it feels. I would love to be pleasantly surprised. I certainly was last Saturday in College Station when I didn't think that would go great. And they played great. They got on the rebound. A&M had an off night, and they won. And Auburn can turn the ball over. LSU's been really good at converting steals into some points. Jordan Wright's been great at that. Jalen Cook's added to that. Got to be active. If you can create some easy baskets, absolutely. You're playing the number 8 defensive efficiency team in the country. So we'll see. We'll react to it coming up on Monday. My expectation for this one is low. This week, in terms of Tuesday and Saturday, you really needed to win the Vanderbilt game at home against the worst team in the league. You did. This is a free swing. I'm not going to learn anything really on the negative side about LSU's team or program Saturday in Neville Arena. The only thing I could learn is to be pleasantly surprised with a team that comes and fights and stays in this game or wins this game against Auburn. We'll see.
Looks like Auburn's 16.5-point favorite.
Jeez, that's a lot of points. I mean, that's what I said, but that's a lot of freaking points. But hey, you go up to Arkansas and win by 30-something. It is what it is. So I can't tell you comfortably and confidently that I would like to put $10 on LSU plus 16. I can't tell you that. There have been times where I could suggest that. This is not one of them. This is a hornet's nest to go into. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that Auburn would be the most feared place in the conference to go play, I'd have just laughed you off the set. But here we are, LSU and Auburn tomorrow at 5 o'clock. You want to listen to that one, you can catch it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, 4:30 pregame, Chris Blair and John Brady on the call. All right, one thing left to do for us. That is take it or leave it on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
It's going to be real cold coming up in a few days. I don't know if it's going to be an ice storm, but those do exist. You can protect yourself from the power outages that come from those ice events with Boudreaux's Electric. More often we talk about summer storms, hurricanes, and that being the reason for your Generac generator. But ice storms can happen as well. Give yourself the peace of mind that comes with a Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. They can monitor your generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week after installation. So if there's a malfunction, if there's an issue with that generator, they'll know about it. They'll call you, say, hey, we noticed something's up. I know you don't know about it, but let's come fix it. So when you need that generator to provide power to your house, it's ready to roll. And they'll come out and get it done. That's the customer service and the technology that you can use with Boudreaux's Electric. Every Generac generator they sell comes with a free 10-year warranty. Free 10-year warranty at Boudreaux's Electric. So whether you're a homeowner, a business owner, a commercial property owner, if you want to protect yourself from power outages, Boudreaux's Electric is who you need to call. That phone number, 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier.
My new favorite sport.
I found my groove.
I found I'm part fish.
My second win when I needed it most.
I found more than a gym.
The affordable childcare this mom needed. Time for myself. We found our why.
Have you found yours?
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
On Monday's OTB, we'll recap the first round of the NFL playoffs, who survived and advanced. Plus, do we have a next head coach at Alabama? And the latest from your LSU football Tigers. Holden Mayo steps by for some spread lines in a brand new edition of Weekend Winners. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Listen to all 6 NFL playoff games from Wild Card Weekend starting tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 when the Browns will be taking on the Texans, followed by the Dolphins and Chiefs in the Ice Bowl. Continuing Sunday at noon and wrapping up Monday night at 7:15. Go to 1045ESPN.com for a full schedule. Your home for the 2024 NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 58 is 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
As you just heard there, Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Turned 1 this week. Congratulations to the Medinka boys for a whole year with us. They have been a wonderful partner here of ours on the Hunt Palmer Show. Check out that menu at corksfishandshrimp.com. One of their big sellers is the Big Haul that can feed 4 to 5. So if you've got a family just trying to pick up something quick and delicious for dinner during the week, get on over there to the Government Street location. 10 fish strips, 30 shrimp, 16-ounce coleslaw, large box of fries, 8 hush puppies, and 5 rolls. You can get that for under $50 for a family of 4 or 5, and it's fantastic stuff. That can also work for a watch party. If you got some people over to watch the NFL playoffs or LSU basketball, corksfishandshrimp.com is where you can find all of that delicious, delicious food. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Women's National Championship for the Lady Tigers have some Bud Light cans. Take it or leave it.
Gotta take it.
I'll take it.
Kim was fired up about it yesterday. Got in the post game after they won. He said, "Hey, did y'all see that Bud Light can? It's got our logo on it." She said she never had a drop of alcohol in her life, but she was going to buy a bunch of them. So hey, look, if I can get my hands on them, absolutely. I think that a cold Bud Light tastes fantastic with the big LSU National Championship logo on it, and we seem to win a lot of championships around here. So keeps the folks at Mockler in business. We like that.
Game time temperature for the Dolphins-Ravens game Saturday night will be...
Dolphins-Chiefs.
Oh, Dolphins-Chiefs. I don't know why I put Ravens in there. That's weird. It's going to be -4 degrees with a wind chill of... I'm like Ron Burgundy. I just read what their teleprompter says. -4 degrees with a wind chill of -27, and that's just the kickoff. Of course, it'll get colder as the night progresses. Playing football in -30 degrees with wind gust of 30 miles per hour. Take it or leave it.
Okay, I'm going to take this as a measured approach, because usually I would rant and rave.
Yeah.
I'll just be honest. Like, I understand if y'all want to call me an absolute wuss because I don't want to go to a football game when it's like 38 degrees. Like, that makes sense. Look, Matt's got all these Bud Lights with the Lady Tigers logo on them right there. He just brought them right in. We like that. See? We like this a lot. Oh, he said, look at that. Lady Tigers right there. We like that a lot. I love a cold Bud Light. I got to drive to Shreveport, so I can't have one right now. But back to the cold weather. Like, if you want to call me a wuss because I don't like it when it's 40 degrees outside, like, you're right. I'm a wuss, but I still don't like it. You are compromising the integrity of the sport when you play and it's that cold, in my opinion. Like, you can't tell me that offensive players, which is what this sport is all about, tell the Chiefs and the Dolphins about that, can adequately perform at an elite playoff level when it's -30 outside.
And
like,
the wind, too, like 30-mile-an-hour gusts. Like, that's going to be very...
I'm not suggesting they pull a college baseball and move the game by 4 hours. I know we got TV partners, and it's a massive moneymaker and the whole deal. I understand, but, like, it's probably going to wreck the game, in my opinion. If I'm a fan of one of those teams, like, I'm so upset that... Like, I'll put myself, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I've got Mahomes, the best quarterback we've ever had, and the best player in the league. If I'm the Dolphins, this is the best team we've had in a long time. And now I'm leaving that in the fate of this, I almost cussed, bad weather. That would make me sad.
All right, next one. Following the news of Nick Saban's retirement, a multitude of Alabama fans placed various items in front of his statue, including a Four Loko, a condom, a get well soon balloon,
what?
And a bag of ice. Take it or leave it.
Okay. I mean, they did. Well, I understand some of this. Get well soon.
I guess they're just assuming that he's retiring because he's sick. I don't know.
Look, I love sports fans. They allow me to do what I do. I realize we're all a little crazy when it comes to sports. There are some things sports fans do that I just genuinely do not understand. And, like, going to the Nick Saban statue and chanting after the coach just said, yeah, I'm going to retire and go to the lake and play some golf is bizarre behavior, in my opinion. Like, that to me is bizarre to do that. It's certainly within your rights. They're not breaking any laws, and I'm thrilled that they feel passionate enough about college football to give us the platform to do this 5 days a week. But it's odd. It's an odd thing to do.
All right, last one here. Just got a minute left. Saints linebacker Demario Davis was named to the AP All-Pro second team, making that his 5th All-Pro team in 6 seasons with the Saints. Davis is the second best, obviously, free agent signing in Saints history. Take it or leave it.
I can't name them all, but I'd be hard-pressed to come up with a better one. So, yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
He's the one guy in this era that has maintained his level of play. Ramchick's been hurt and can't do it. Kamara's been out and about and doesn't have quite the burst he once had. Cam Jordan's production plummeted this year. Michael Thomas can't get on the field. Like, these are the players from that era, and Demario Davis continues to play at an all-pro level. He's awesome. He's an awesome representative of the city, awesome leader on the team, and a great player. And that's really cool to see this deep into his career. Nice free agent signing by the Saints. Kalen DeBoer is the guy in Tuscaloosa. Matt's going to have a ton more on that coming up on After Further Review. We are back tomorrow. We will be having our shows on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. So we'll see you then, same time, same place. Have a great, safe weekend on Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank & Trust, the bank that cares about you.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Hey, look what I found!
The motivation I needed to live healthier.
My new favorite sport.